this video, I'm going to show you how to complete the first part of the simultaneous contrast project, where we're going to do color trials. And you're going to begin with just your package of Color Aid paper. You can open it up. Mine is all still in order because it's brand new and I haven't used it yet. I'm actually going to save this piece of white paper. I'm going to use this sheet of white because it's going to be helpful in my presentation of my trials. Now these are all in order. And I'm gonna very quickly get them out of order. I went ahead and numbered them on the back as I showed in class. So if I wanted to put them back in order, I would be able to after I'm finished with this. But I want to sort of be able to freely shuffle through the colors and not worry too much about what order they're in. So we're gonna start with finding one key color. So for the first part of this project, where we are trying to make 3 colors look like 4, we're basically trying to trick the eyes into thinking that the 2 center colors in a field of larger color are different from each other when they're actually the same. And you can see a diagram of the final formatting in your assignment sheet. In this case, we're just going to use this white sheet of paper to sort of separate the colors so that you can see if the illusion is working or not. So I want to start by choosing a key color, which is going to be my center color that I'm focusing on trying to shift our perception of. And in order to do that, I know from experience that it's harder to change really, really saturated colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose a somewhat neutral color here to begin. So maybe I could choose something in this family. I'm gonna go for, let's see, maybe kind of a blue-gray here, or a gray. I'll choose here sort of like a violet gray. So this one is, I can look on my chart, but it's definitely a shade of violet or blue or red violet. Okay, so this is the color that I want to try to have the perception of it look different from one side of the experiment to the other. So I'm going to use my white sheet of paper to separate these 2 colors. So now I have 2 sides. So I want to make one of these look different from the other. Now I want you to use sort of trial and error for this. You can definitely conceptually, using the information that we learned about the attributes of color, you can easily come up with hypotheses of what will work. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. You also can sort of just like try things out and see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of both methods. So I'm going to choose for one side colors that are really different from this violet, and on the other side I'm going to choose colors that are kind of similar to the violet. I'm going to pick out like a stack of each and see what happens. So really different from that might be, you know, some of these yellows, some saturated oranges would be pretty different. I'll grab a few of those. Some greens, right, are really different. Grab a green, a couple of greens. Yellow, green. Okay, and then for the ones that are a little bit more similar, I'm going to sort through and pick out maybe like some blues. A few blues might be good to try. Some reds. Reds or pinks, right? Just grab some different ones of these. Okay, I'm going to start with that. I'll throw in a few neutrals here as well. All right, so I'm going to start with these, and here's what I'm going to do. My kind of piles on the side here. I'm going to go through and just kind of try different colors on the side and see what the effects are. Now, these might not come across super well in this video, so you're gonna need to do this on your own to understand, but I'll try to hold them up and see if we can tell the difference. So, okay, here's the first one. Do we see any color differences between the two? So we want to think about the attributes of color. So we have hue, value, and saturation, and we want to try to change as many of those attributes as possible. I would say I'm not really tricking myself into anything here. Maybe it looks a little redder on this side than this one, but I can't really see a huge difference. So let's keep trying. Let's try some different variations here. I'm going to try this more saturated green. Okay, so I'm going to change one at a time to see if there's any effects. Okay, so already, look at that. I can see that this side, the violet, is starting to look a little bit more red than it is on that side. So I can see that this is already starting to work. And in fact, that one looks a little bit darker than this one. So now that I'm starting to get there, I can kind of have an idea of where to go next. So it starts to look a little darker on this side, and it looks a little redder on this side. So how can I make this one look even darker? I can try a lighter color, slightly lighter. Okay, even better. I mean, already I think this solution would work, but I want to try to get as strong of a contrast as I can to really trick people. And a good thing to do is if you have somebody else in your household that you can share these with, you can show it to them and see if they are tricked or not, since they don't know what you're doing necessarily. Okay, so I already think that works, but I'm going to keep trying. So I know that I don't want anything super dark on this left side, so I'm going to not try those. I'm going to try some of these other lighter, like light reds and light blues that I have, and just see if I can get an even stronger effect. Okay, that one or this one. Actually, I think that one now is making this look even more of like a blue violet. So I'm going to try a couple of my other pinks just to see, these light reds, to see if they're any stronger. Okay, I think that actually works pretty well. And try a couple others over here just to see if I can push it even more on this side. So that was better when it was darker. Let's try. Oh. So you can see you can kind of just cycle through these and see if any work better than others. Okay, that works really well too, right? This one looks even lighter now. However, I sort of think that one's a better solution because I think that the hue changes more with this more saturated color surrounding it. So what I would do at this point is, I think I'm just gonna save this solution that I have and then move on and try some others, and then I can always come back to it or discard it if I find others that I think are better. So when you're going to turn in your trials for your peer reviews, this is what you want to submit, exactly this format. So you'll line up the pieces of paper so that the key color sticks out on either side, and then your two ground colors are exposed. So I would then go and take a photo of this, push it off to the side, save it, and try again with some others. Before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about what exactly I'm achieving here. So I started out with kind of a neutral violet or red violet, and what I've done is made it look lighter and more red on this side, and darker and more sort of blue violet on this side, right? And the way I can kind of explain it is that, so on this side, I'm using basically a method of what I would call subtraction. So I'm subtracting the redness from this color, and on this side, I'm using enhancement. I'm enhancing the saturation of it, right? So I'm using an oppositely saturated color to emphasize the redness of it. So this is kind of desaturating it and changing the hue, and this is saturating it and changing the hue. And I've also changed the value. So I've changed the hue, I've changed the value, and I've changed the saturation in some ways. And that's the ultimate thing that you would like to achieve with this. Okay, I'm gonna do one more example in which I don't necessarily stick with my original key color that I selected, because you don't have to just stick to that one. You might be rotating the key color and both the ground colors throughout your trials. So this time I'm gonna decide, since I have violet, kind of a neutral violet for my center, my key color, I'm gonna pick something really different this time. How about, I'm gonna choose, yeah, like a neutral orange-ish color perhaps. So I'm gonna get, since I know that I want something like that to be my key color, I'm gonna grab a few options so that I can see which ones work the best. Pick these like kind of variety of orange tints and shades. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing I did last time. And I'm gonna choose similar colors for one side and opposite colors for the other, or very different colors for the other. So similar to orange would be some yellows, yellows and oranges, maybe some reds. I'll pick some darker ones too. Okay. And then on the other side, I'm gonna pick some kind of blues and greens, things that are very different. Violets, okay. And some of those. All right, so let's try, I'm gonna try this pretty saturated blue on one side. And then I'll try a darker, kind of reddish on the other side. Now, I think they do actually already look a little bit different. This one looks a little darker maybe, and that one's a little bit lighter. Let's try a different red. Okay. The light is not perfectly flat in here either. But there you can see not much of a change. I'm gonna try some yellow. Okay, so there's some subtle changes happening, but I feel like this orange is just too saturated and it's not gonna be a great key color. So I'm gonna try one of the other ones in my pile. These are all also very saturated. Maybe I'll try this kind of more neutral orangey color. Okay, this one's probably a shade of an orange or a yellow orange. Okay, so I think what I need to do is put a darker color on one or the other side. I'm gonna try and put a darker blue-ish. It's more of a violet. Put that over there, see if that makes a difference. Okay, maybe a little. I'm gonna try a even lighter color, maybe slightly less saturated on this side. Okay, that's doing something. I wonder if I make this one even darker, if that would work. So I can try a darker violet, try a darker kind of blue-green and see if that makes a difference. All right, it's getting there. This one, I feel like it might work better since this is so neutral if I tried sort of similar colors on both sides or colors that are contained within the key color on both sides. So I tried yellow on this side. What if I try orange on the other? So I'm going to borrow from this pile. Okay, that has some effect. It's not quite as a wow as the other one that I did earlier, but let's try a few other reds. Okay, that one's getting there. That one might be the best bet so far. And then maybe I'll try some other yellows again. So you can see how you just have to keep going through this with trial and error. And maybe I decide that I don't love this key color either. It's not the best choice. So I might swap it out again. But that's the general process for this. I think of the ones that I worked with here so far. Okay, that one makes it look a little bit darker, right? I think that one actually might be the best of these options. So I'm gonna remove the extras. I think this one would be worth saving. And presenting for my trials to my classmates. Okay, so I have here a neutral yellow orange, or one of those, yeah, I think it's probably a yellow orange shade for my key color. And then for my ground colors, I have a kind of a neutral red, that's a shade of a red, and I have a light neutral yellow green, that's a tint. And the effect that it's having is that the key color looks lighter and more yellow on the left, on this side, and looks slightly darker and more orange or red on this side. And those differences will be even more pronounced when I actually cut this out and complete the assignment, but I think that this one would be worth saving as well. So one thing to note is that I often find them to be more impressive when I don't just see the most saturated colors on either side, because it's sort of easy to choose you know, a really dark saturated color and a really light saturated color and have those fight against the key color. But sometimes you get even more impressive differences with some more subtle colors. So just something to keep in mind, because you can easily look at the color wheel and say, oh, violet and yellow are complementary colors, so I'll just put those behind and it'll have some effect. But it's not always the case. It'll probably have some effect for sure, but if you can get colors that are a little bit more subtle, a little more neutral, and have a large variety of them in all of your sets, then you'll have even greater success and bigger surprises. So I would take a photo of this, I would take a photo of this, and any other trials that I found successful. I would make more than you think you need, so that when you submit them, your classmates can help you choose which ones are the most exciting that you should cut out and glue to submit for the final assignment.